This is Altar Map Part 2, and it's the depth of transforming the overwhelm of grief, how to lay it on your altar. I'm Janan Derso. I'm going to start with my story, my prologue, and share my story of devotion. I'll speak specifically on how to transform grief into ritual and how to make an altar for your loved one who has transcended her body. And then I'll end with an invitation if you feel like you need some support. I once had a friendship that was so magnificent. You could say it checked all the boxes. Even though other aspects of my life were challenging, somehow this friendship made it all manageable to find joy. We had 3 summers together that wove the most fabulous initiation into my own awareness. Once she said to me, "I can't lose you as a friend ever." And weeks later, when she took her last breath in my arms, I knew we weren't leaving each other. It was just going to look differently because I had deeply found something, a holy relationship. Although at times it almost devoured me to the core of my bones, that's how deeply I had to feel all the emotions, to my bones. I turned around and I saw the garden, the big, magnificent community garden called Mothership Farms. Only she was the one who rallied the community, and she was at the helm of the ship. And once her voice was gone, it seemed it was most often just me standing there before the garden. And this garden required sweat, muscle, and strength I didn't know I had. However, the fortitude, steadfastness, and perseverance required helped me endure the journey both ahead and behind as time collapsed into timelessness. It was an intense season because I also taught the practice to my children. It's one thing to go on the grief journey as a single woman, which I had done. It's quite another to carry your whole family and young children through the daily rituals of honoring a loved one who's left Earthside. Even our tiny dog, Angel, was to partake in the rituals. This story is in honor of them because when I thought I couldn't show the required reverence, their eyes watching reminded me that indeed it was imperative to light the candle, pour the water, offer her flowers, burn the incense, and serve the plate. These acts integrated what was holy as the illustrators of trust. If you can trust in this process, then hope will always dwell inside you. Hope is the eternal flame for faith, and without it, whole nations fall, families crumble, and you become hollow. Hollow is without feeling. No, that's the opposite of life. Hallow means to revere and make holy. These were my instructions. Life is about finding meaning, hearing that cosmic roar, dancing in the joy of celebration, and moreover, giving and receiving love. I had to find my way back to what my previous summer days were so full of joy. On one level, this story is about how gardening is a tool to find both meaning and joy in your life on earth. And on a bigger scale, it's about how the journey to those feelings also creates a oneness relationship with God. Personally, when I learned how to surrender my will to the cosmic day, I could be in the most serene energy God had to offer me, divine will. God offers all of us this universal available truth. The Holy Spirit, hallowed energy, was everywhere, teaching and showing me what to do every single day. Spirit profoundly shines on us through these simple guideposts of cosmic disguise, the sun, the moon, and the stars. Once divine will took over, my hands were truly a vessel for growing food, medicine, and healing hearts. This very act was merciful to my soul and to anyone who cared to participate. The humility mirrored devotion because I couldn't bear to see her seeds go to waste. I had to bring them to fruition and harvest her medicine. I sent braids of garlic to her family, made pumpkin rolls that my children would enjoy. I learned to distill chamomile into blue hydrosol and more. The lessons were abundantly harvested. My tears landed in the compost. The whole cycle was fulfilled. so I could experience a type of resurrection, an ascension of my ego. I didn't bypass a single lesson, no matter how painful. I couldn't necessarily process each metaphysical one in the present, but I did process as many plants as possible by expanding time with the biodynamic calendar principles. And by the end of that season, my kitchen was a beautiful display of jars like dried raspberry leaves collected on a leaf day, echinacea tincture steeping in alcohol made on an air day, roasted potatoes on the table grown on a root day, and a jar of salsa cultivated on fruit days. What emerged was a metaphysical map. Each of you has to go through your story of pain to get there. The pain is the initiation, and I wish this book could start with the ending of fruition. But it begins with the hard part of placing your pain in the soil of the field. You can find your story in my story. That reflection is what unites us and lifts the pain out of our hearts, into the minds, up to the heavens, and back again. The point of the process is to integrate the lessons and not let it lay in the shadows where no one can see it. I teach integration because if I don't, it will stay just outside of you as an intellectual concept and can be bypassed along with the miracles. This process can change you at your core and allow the peace to ripple out one moment at a time. You greet the pain, you give it to your altar, and then it's replaced with love that heals it for all time. It's a constant tending to your inside state, then lifting it outside in acknowledgement from the outside cosmos, bringing it back inside. It has taken me a few years to articulate it, or perhaps lifetimes, but it's God's plan. In my experience as a mother, a body worker, a biodynamic farmer, and a devout child of God have led me to write maps for you. What has healed me has integrated and restored peace. It's these peace maps I share with you. Thank you for opening these videos and for taking the risk to say no to your ego and yes to God's voice. I know you are a believer in yourself, in God's will for you, and that together, one soul at a time, we can remember peace. All you have to do is your part. All I've done is my part in God's plan for me. So this is the golden wax. May it inspire you, warm you, enlighten you, and illuminate your path forward, just like the holy candles glow. The gold holds the light, and the wax strips the pain. We are asked to let go of the past that no longer serves the future. God's instructions hold all the puzzle pieces to restore true Eden. We all go together, and I will see you there. The altar begins with your tears. The first thing I do when someone transitions off the earth is to make an altar to connect with her spirit. This gives my tears a vessel outside of myself, a place to pour myself out to her, a space for her to pour back into me so I don't feel alone, so she doesn't feel alone either. The depth of perception comes from this window into the souls. I choose the word transition specifically because death has been contorted to mean an ending. I have never felt that when someone's life ended, at that moment, their spirit died. Rather, they just left their body. The transition out of a body is a journey that some people have insight into, but there isn't much known about it. What I share is from a deep listening place as people I loved crossed over. It's also what worked for me in transforming the grief into the gift of connection with the loved one. Moreover, it's the tools that brought me the completeness and wholeness in myself so I could, in fact, move on. I share the instructions that were given to me. So the first step is to find a place that you can easily access to build an altar. It's a sacred space. And for some, this is in the middle of the home, so the altar is much a part of the daily life and everyone can see it as they pass. For others, it might even need to be in a special room, a separate place, or you move it there at some point so that you can go to this sacred place as an area that isn't a part of the home and the daily routines. That's up to you, and it might change throughout the process. Then you choose a cloth as the base layer. And this is very important because it represents something about your relationship to the person, like it's her favorite color. And as you lay the cloth down, feel like you're making her bed. The gentleness and the love spreads out as the foundation for this altar. Then you get a picture, and it's important to start with the picture of your loved one. Around the picture, you act as if you're helping her pack for her trip. It's her journey home. How do you make her comfortable? Like objects that she treasured, her necklace, her symbols, things that will help her on her journey. Next, you pick up a beautiful glass and you fill it with water. Offer her this water. Every single day, give her fresh water to drink. She may be thirsty, especially when someone first crosses over. She doesn't always realize it, and you want to make her comfortable for her journey. You can make a second glass for you. This one allows you to do something, to help in some way, and to feel like you're offering her respite and yourself. This is the element of water. You want to make the altar familiar. What did she drink every morning? You can offer a small cup of coffee and make her a fresh one every time you make yours. Next, you offer food, and this represents the earth element. You can put her favorite fruits on the altar, and every time you make a meal, you make a tiny plate with a little bit of everything you serve on it as well. You offer it to her picture, place it on the altar. Each time you eat, offer that small portion so that she's not hungry. This is what you can do. She wants to feel included, not forgotten or left out of mealtime. Then you find a new candle to honor her. And every morning when you rise up, you light this candle and you say a little prayer for her on her journey to wish her well. You can spend time here for as long as you need to, crying, writing, even getting angry, allowing whatever emotions to pour through you and have a vessel in this flame. If her journey is cold, you've provided warmth. If her journey is dark, you've provided light. This is the element of fire. Find something that helps you connect with the element of air. Traditionally, this is seen as flowers. Fill your altar with flowers and keep them fresh. Many people see their loved ones as even bees or dragonflies, crows, robins, butterflies, some flying creature, right? Find the one that symbolizes this loved one and put this picture or feather or wing or figurine on your altar and notice it every time you see it in nature. Acknowledge that symbol. And then you have ether. Each day burn incense, for they represent the element of ether. In the Tibetan tradition, they share that even though a person has left her body, her spirit can still smell the incense. It's an experience that the unseen world can have, and this is why so many traditions burn incenses to contact them. Use this tool to offer your prayers as well for her journey home. This is your altar to honor your loved one that has transcended the earth, and you can certainly add other special items or crystals to the altar. You make it a sacred place where you can spend time and connect. Perhaps you want to put a chair there so you can sit down for a while. Maybe you prefer a cushion for your prayer. Whatever rituals, whatever religion, whatever spiritual practice comfort your soul, that's the connection. And this is how you ground the practice into God. How long you tend to your altar. I usually look at the dates of the loved one's passing and then count out to an auspicious time to end the ceremony. The Tibetan Buddhist tradition calls this window of time when the soul departs the body until they've chosen to be reborn, the Bardo realm. It's a mystic, complicated time frame I'm not at liberty to evaluate without more insight, but it lasts around 49 days. A soul's karma can determine how long they stay or are reborn in their tradition, and you don't need to follow all of that in order to find that time frame. Usually a date pops out. There's some like their birthday or Mother's Day. There's some date that will pop out and you'll know when to end it. But you do need to end it. You do need to dismantle the altar at some point. It can look however you need to, the end ceremony. Some people will bury the items in the ground and make a final offering. It could look like a bonfire. It could be packing up the items. It could be a funeral. I mean, there's so many ways. There's traditions that hold big feasts to celebrate the freedom of the soul. In the Mexican tradition, every year they reopen this, right? On the Day of the Dead, the annual of altar or ofrenda serves as a time to invite the loved one's spirit back in for 2-3 nights. It's often about the 31st of October to November 2nd, which also aligns with All Saints' Day in the Catholic tradition, and November 1st, followed by All Souls' Day on the 2nd. Other traditions, like the Ethiopian one, there's a lot of weeping and remembering for the beloved's passing. And on the third day, immediate family and people they knew gather and mourn and tell stories. They share experience they had while that person was alive. They say the host holds this space until everyone is dry. So all the tears have been shed. Everything is on the altar. They celebrate on the 30th day, and it's kind of like a wedding, where if anybody owes the soul something, they come and they have a party and whatever they can offer. This can even last a long time. So I want you to feel into what feels good to you and how do you end and honor. The Tibetans, they mark the 49th day. And I usually do this puja as a purification ritual because it's fascinating. They write the name of the person on a piece of paper. And in the ceremony, once this name is spoken one final time, then it's burned. And this illustrates the end of her contracts on earth, that like she is free now, and more prayers are chanted until the end of the ceremony. It's an important part of these rituals to bring some final act, and that's what I'm encouraging. You don't need to take on something that isn't yours, but you do want to sort out within yourself that this isn't something you're going to do forever. That there's a window of showing up every day, and then you're going to let go of the aspect of daily tending for this soul. The continuation is open for a once a year, an angelversary, or an ofrenda, whatever feels good. If you can't move on, then remedies are important. Returning the body to homeostasis is vital for life to continue. Nothing will ever be the same, but the adverse effects should lighten. And the harsh part of an American culture is that society isn't really given enough time to grieve. The moving on has to happen so swiftly that emotions get suppressed and turn into long-term health issues. So what I'll say is there's no time frame that someone can put on your process. One loss adds to another, and these threads weave a blanket. The hardest part of carrying on is that any amount of stress or overwhelm can lead to the unraveling of these threads. Then the whole blanket is in a pile and you feel a mess. The path to wholeness dissolves and lifts up because you want to head towards something instead of feeling like every little thing is nearly impossible, where simply living in this state of overwhelm drives someone deeper into this feeling incapable to cope with the day. You have to be able to transform grief into a gift. There is a holy moment when you can look at loss differently, when you can see your tears and heartaches as the gateway into wisdom, that this relationship was sacred. In the process of the soul's transitioning, you are given a gift to replace your grief. The offering of life is no longer a sacrifice, nor does it define you, but a moment of truth and true love. To receive that all the way into your mind allows for the transformation from grief to gift. I want to assure you that love is always there because it transcends time and space. You can call upon love the way in which you call upon God. Anytime you want to feel love from that sweet person, you can shift the moment of loss to fulfillment of life while still on earth. For a soul to complete its journey ends in transcendence of the physical body. We aren't meant to dwell in a place of sorrow and heaviness because this isn't loss of love. In truth, the love expands, and what comes next is the sacred cord. This connection draws you into eternal oneness. The evolution of purpose is to feel bliss and receive infinite love so grand we can't yet fathom it here on earth as of yet. So if you don't feel like you're on track, how do you get back on track? Well, if you've never meditated before or done any of these rituals, I can't propose that this is the place to start. It only helped me at 22 years old because it was already my practice. And if you have a family to take care of, it's a challenging practice to propose as your solution to healing from grief. The altar was my answer. what I want to first bring you into is brief periods of time and not whole days, because life is moments and you're essentially starting over. So I invite you to start with your breath. Your breath in and out are the great regulator. This is the natural born system for the reset. In a way, this is the beginning of a meditation practice, one moment at a time. If you don't, you will be stuck in survival mode, dysregulated and biologically stuck in a loop. Your breath is the bridge in resetting time. It brings you into the present moment where the God of your heart takes over again. The past dissolves, even if for that moment, just that moment, and it ceases to control your mind. The freedom to return to peace of mind is in the present. To return to where I started, there's a transition in your life's garden when you move from being in your grief, the traumatic event of death, birth, divorce, or something that holds you to being in it, to this moment I just explained. The altar map is what I offer as the process after challenging times. I highly suggest you plant a cover crop so that you have time. Its role is to nourish your soil, to transform your pain into fertile land again. I also make this gift box of temple transformations. They offer fluorescent energy paths back home. These are gem and flower essences that I made to restore you with your prayers. Why plant a cover crop? Well, because there's an unknown time period it takes for you to not be in the trauma. It's a time where you do as little of the mundane as possible. You may need a larger support system to help you have this sacred time in this space. Plus, I encourage you to receive body work from different modalities. It is essential for true healing so that your story can come to a conclusion and you're not in it anymore. When you're ready to move past it, you will till the soil. You will pull up your cover crop. In the latter half of the workbook, the sun and moon map journals, I walk you through planting new seeds. The way is gardening, metaphorically and physically. Then you can start with your first goal, peace of mind. The biodynamic calendar is a healing path to manage overwhelm with emotions and live your optimal life. Living with intention draws you into a world full of connection and space. These steps to build an altar are for your connection, your insight, and your profound healing. Welcome. You're now on your way to utilizing the natural rhythm to transform the way you live. The next step is finding consistent time for your prayer practice to connect with God. The most important step you can take toward your altar is remembering to practice. So when a really big one hits, you're ready to respond in peace. And you may not even need an altar. It can just symbolize the space, but showing up is the commitment that I continue to emphasize in my book and in my courses. So you can begin with the altar map workbook, where you place each element on your altar, like I just showed you, to symbolize the laying down of your emotions. You can ask the land to support you. You can ground into God, to feel your breath, to know you're not alone, to tend. Every day is the beginning of your practice. This map is the element key to cosmic integration, so you don't have to carry the emotions for your lifetime. If you need help, if I have left you feeling like you want to talk, I will do a free 20-minute session with anyone to help you release these emotions and move forward. You can find me on janan.com. I know it's hard. I've been there and I know you can do it. So let's take a deep breath together. This is where it begins, with your breath. Keep breathing. Peace.